I'm going to start this review by getting to the point. The Dan Clark Audio Stealth is the most transparent closed-back headphone we've heard here at the store so far. The Stealth is the new flagship closed-back planar magnetic from Dan Clark Audio, formerly known as Mr. Speakers, and it's a stunning headphone at an equally stunning price. This obviously isn't going to be a headphone for everyone, but we think everyone should listen to it. Before we really dive into the sound, let's talk about the design. The Stealth is sort of a muscled-up version of the Dan Clark Aeon series. We're really pleased that the company has not abandoned their philosophy that a great headphone is a comfortable one. The Stealth comes in at 415 grams with a no-fuss suspension headband and generously deep ear pads. The fit and finish of the metal and carbon fiber frame is right on the money, and while the red accents and overall aggressive styling are not going to be to everyone's taste, I think this is a handsome beast. As a rare bonus at this price point, the Stealth folds up and comes with a hard shell carrying case, which means that you can easily use the Stealth as a portable headphone, provided you're comfortable with taking a headphone this expensive with you on your travels. The only other thing which makes the Stealth less versatile as a portable headphone is that the Stealth is quite hard to drive. While the impedance of the Stealth is a reasonable 23 ohms, this headphone sensitivity is a very low 87 decibels per milliwatt. As a result, the Stealth needs an amplifier that can output a decent amount of power at a relatively low impedance. We would recommend using the Stealth with an amplifier that can comfortably push out at least 300 milliwatts at 32 ohms. This includes the Chord Mojo or the iFi Griffin. If your amp has a balanced output that delivers more power, you'll probably want to get the Stealth with a balanced cable so that you can tap into that extra headroom. You'll want to drive the Stealth properly because this headphone, which is already somewhat bright sounding, is going to sound downright unpleasant with distortion or clipping. Dan Clark Audio has introduced their 4th generation planar magnetic driver in the Stealth, as well as a 3D printed metamaterial filter that sits in front of the driver and acts as a complex waveguide that tunes the final sound of the headphone. We think this filter might be the secret sauce which gives the Stealth such a transparent sound. Dan Clark Audio has given the Stealth a brighter, more expressive sound than previous models while tightly controlling sibilance and ear cup resonance. Bass response is flat and fast, but it's a bit restrained, and depending on the track, you may find the Stealth reaches deep but doesn't have a rich, full-bodied bass response. At the very high frequencies, Dan Clark Audio has carefully tamed some of the sibilance which would make the Stealth's brightness sound splashy. A hot recording will still sound hot on this headphone because of the forward lower treble, but it shouldn't make your ears bleed. Rather than being mellow and laid back like some other releases from Dan Clark, the Stealth is punchy, detailed, and supremely controlled. Usually you can tell a closed headphone apart from an open one because on a closed headphone you get a characteristic bloat, as you can hear the reflection from the back of the ear cups bounce back into your ears. You get almost none of that with the Stealth, so much so that we've had several customers now try the Stealth and get surprised when we tell them it's not an open-backed headphone. The only hints that you get from the Stealth that it's closed is increased noise isolation and a slightly damp soundstage, almost like being in a small, acoustically treated room. We still think that the Stealth can go toe-to-toe with many open-backed flagships, because even though you won't get the same sense of a wide, open field of sound like you do on an open back, imaging and detail is just fantastic on the Stealth within its smaller, quieter headspace. So compared to the Aeon 2 closed, the Stealth has flatter, clearer bass and no sense of the Aeon 2's compression or bloat. The Stealth is a little brighter sounding than the Aeon 2, but it also avoids the Aeon 2's occasional sibilance, so you don't need to use filters to damp this down. While the Aeon 2 is one of the best closed-back headphones at its price point, next to the Stealth it sounds congested. Comparing the Stealth to the Focal Stellia is a case of beauty versus brains, and it's hard for me to say which one I like more. The Focal has a rich, romantic, and forgiving sound with just enough zing from the beryllium driver to cut through that thickness. It's a really well-balanced tuning, which I think works for many genres of music, even with mediocre or harsh recordings. When you compare it to the Stealth, it sounds more colored and less controlled, but there's still a lot to like about the Stellia's more mellow sound, and I would still recommend the Stellia if you wanted something easygoing. The Stealth is the kind of headphone that will really let you know if you're listening to a bad recording. That may not be what you're after, but the level of technical performance and resolution on offer here makes the Stealth one of the best headphones on the market today. And to make a closed-back headphone that we can confidently suggest as an alternative to an open-backed flagship, that's an achievement. As always, we're interested to know what you think, so leave a comment or drop in and have a listen for yourself. This is Lachlan for Minidisc TV, and we'll see you next time.